welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So let's scroll on down. First fight we have in the bantamweight division, we got Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Moutinho. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Malcolm Wellmaker to beat Chris Moutinho. I just feel like Malcolm Wellmaker is the better overall fighter. Chris Moutinho does have more experience. And he's high key. I'm not gonna say high key. He low key. He does have a shot here. I do have things I don't like about Wellmaker. I feel like he's a little bit too hittable. Too much reliant on catching to counter sometimes. And Moutinho could be that guy that could tank his shots and push him and break him and pull off that wacky meme style upset. That's definitely on the table here. I don't think Wellmaker's no future champion or real future star, to be honest. I think he's a solid fighter, but I'm not going to see him as no breakout star, breakout top 10, breakout top 5. I think he's going to lose somewhere in between that time. I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be this time right here, but I wouldn't count it out. But I still got average confidence Wellmaker to win here. Again, I really don't see Moutinho have no real clear path here. He's got to make it real ugly and, close his eyes and pray very hard, flip a coin, bet it all on black or something. But, yeah, very slim chance he wins here. But he is live, but I would say average confidence Wellmaker here. I just think he's just a better raw fighter. Be too fast, too dynamic, too clean, and going to be able to pull Moutinho in and counter and put him out. And also not like Wellmaker's a pillow-fisted fighter, so Moutinho giving himself out there to be hit all the time is not going to bode well for hoping to, to eat a shot, to give a shot and break him down or whatever is not a good recipe anyway. That's not something I'm going to lean on. Unless the guy just had a tendency to do that at a high level time and time again. And when you really look at Moutinho's record, who has he really beat that's good? I feel like he probably be like one semi-decent person in his whole career. So, yeah, I'm not getting behind him. So, yeah, I think Wellmaker's able to put him out. I'll say first round. I seem like Wellmaker's round. He likes first. A little bit of slow start. Then once he finds his timing down, he puts you out pretty quickly after finding it. So, in this one, I got Malcolm Wellmaker via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Vanessa Demopoulos versus Jamie Lynn Horth. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence. If I could go lower, I'd go extremely low. Extremely low if I could, but it just the lowest is as low as it gets. And if I was one of those people that were so picky about my picks, I just didn't pick fights I care less about, or I couldn't really pick a side about. This will be one of those fights, but again, it is what I pick every single fight on the UFC card, so I'm gonna predict this fight, and I'm picking Jamie Lynn Horth for low confidence to beat Vanessa Demopoulos. There's definitely a fight where Vanessa Demopoulos can go back into her wheelhouse and eke out an ugly split decision or ugly decision that's unanimous, that should not be her unanimous for her, but either way, make an ugly fight where she just works a little bit harder and wins here. Horth kind of just falls down when you even just push her over a lot of times. Her takedown defense did look a lot better. Her grappling overall did look a lot better against Miranda Maverick. And that's good for her, but that's bad for Miranda Maverick. That you kind of had issues with Horth in the grappling at points, like struggle to take her down at points. But ultimately a unanimous decision nonetheless. But yeah, I do like the improvement even in the loss for Horth that she was able to go into elite grappler in this weight class. And again, losing a unanimous decision, but at that point she made Maverick had to struggle with some takedowns. She won some positions over Maverick. And she held her own with an elite flyweight, something that Demopoulos has really never done, in my opinion. Maybe she did a little bit, but again, recent time, had she done that? No. But yeah, two mediocre fighters, two lower division fighters. But I think Jamie Horth is the bigger, more talented fighter. And I see this going to a close, ugly decision. Probably a split decision out of the way. Demopoulos probably getting some takedowns, not doing us with him. Horth getting back, probably being the longer ranger fighter, landing more strikes or landing heavier strikes. Again, it could go either way. I can see Horth spending too much time on her back. I can see Demopoulos spending too much time on her back. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Horth because I feel like based on their recent performances, Horth did a little bit more for me, or a lot more for me. Whereas based on Demopoulos' most recent performance, like she got struck by a chick smaller than her, and she got taken down pretty easily every round by a chick smaller than her. And that's just a terrible look. Whereas Horth went there, again, an elite fighter in the weight class. And again, it was a unanimous decision loss, but it was a lot closer than the scorecards say. Like it was a lot more competitive than it should have been. But yeah, I'm going Horth based off recent work. So in this one, I got Jamie Lynn Horth via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Phil Rowe versus Loosa, my former twin, but I no longer have hair right now, so people can't say I look like him, or they could try to reach to say I look like him, but it is what it is. But yeah, this one I got Loosa, low confidence to beat Phil Rowe. So looking at Phil Rowe, he's pretty physically weak, to be honest. Like no insults, the truth is the truth. He's long, lanky, kind of weak build guy. Can get manhandled around the ring a lot. So no real great offensive takedowns. He got a little pop to his punches. He got length. He got a little pop to his punches and stuff. Got decent offensive grappling. Loosa has shown to be hard to knock out, hard to submit, hard to really do anything with outside of outpointing. And Phil Rowe has not really shown the ability to put out consistent striking output. It seemed like he kind of phased and fight. Like, he still has some power in there. He still does some stuff out there, but like, it's not consistent. Like, the guys that have really beat Loosa have been able to, put on volume for 15 minutes, or at least consistently for 15 minutes. I feel like Rowe has not shown consistent offense for 15 minutes. You see him fade in the fights and pull out a knockout later. You see him fade in the fights and get outworked. Again, he has not shown consistent output. He has not shown consistent volume. I feel like Loosa could match him in volume or even surpass him in volume and land the heavy shots. I feel like Loosa can score takedowns in Rowe. Not to say that Loosa is such an active takedown artist, but I feel like his offensive wrestling is a lot better, or his offensive takedowns are a lot better than Rowe, or at least from what I've seen from Rowe. So I feel like he can get the takedowns between the two. I feel like he can land the heavy shots, and I feel like he can be more consistent. And also, I think he's the more durable of the two fighters. Again, Loosa has been there with guys like Jack Della Maddalena. He's been in there with who he's been in most recently. He's been in with some heavy hitters. Jack Della Maddalena says it all, and that was actually a close fight. That was a Contender Series fight. That's the fight that got Jack in the UFC. Actually got both in the UFC. So Loosa is definitely very game, very durable. And yeah, I feel like he's the better overall fighter here. Rowe might have the better grabs, might be a little bit longer, but again, I feel like Loosa could throw heavier. I feel like he could be more consistent. I feel like he could win a takedown battle if needed, and I feel like he can outgrind and outwork Rowe. But I see a good competitive scrap. Could see this going to a split decision. But again, I feel like Loosa just has the cleaner work. In the overall, I just feel like he's the better fighter. And I feel like he can mix it up better. Rowe might be more skilled BJJ-wise, but can he get into a position where he can really use his BJJ? Do I see him getting no submission off his back? No. Do I see him getting no jumping guillotine? No. Do I see him getting a takedown and taking his back? No. And yeah, it's got Loosa here. Close competitive fight, but I think Loosa is going to be better overall. And again, in a better position and better able to mix it up if necessary and dictate where the fight takes place and how it takes place to beat Rowe by decision here. So in this one, I have on Loosa via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato. So this fight has been rescheduled, so it's on this card now. Going average confidence, Rodolfo. I'm not going to say average. Should I go average here? I'll go with average confidence, Rodolfo Bellato to beat Paul Craig. Definitely one of these fights where Paul Craig can pull off, upset, knock Bellato out. Bellato ain't like really nobody special, to be honest. Kind of chinny, suspect defense. But he does got heart. But if I would say he had more heart than Craig, to be honest. Craig has just checked out a lot of times. But yeah, Bellato's a big solid grappler. Craig, always live for a submission. Craig is definitely live here. And I might go average Bellato, but I'm not betting him average or betting him high confidence. I might likely just leave this fight alone. Might put him in one parlay, and that's about it. But yeah, no high investment, no this, no that. But I'm picking Bellato. I'm saying average confidence. I haven't been doing enough average confidence this year, so hey, I'll throw it out there. Average confidence, Bellato. Younger, stronger, hungrier. Craig just just rolling the dice. Like, he don't know. Like, he's hoping something happens, something clicks that will tell him that he needs to stick around, or he can do this, he can do that. Oh, I beat Jamal Hill. He was a champion. I beat Mac Alive. He's a champion. Like, that's why he's returning back to light heavyweight. He went down to middleweight, got one win, and other than that, he just was unsuccessful at the weight class. Now he's returning back to his original weight class at 205, and he's just hoping something happens. Like, but again, Bellato's a guy, he could definitely get that over. He could definitely catch him on feet and knock him out. He could definitely get Bellato in a submission, but I'll say Bellato be able to. I'll say Bellato second round submission. I think Bellato will be to hurt Craig, fall on the ground, which kind of sounds like a bad idea. Get him to turtle up, and then be able to submit him second round. Kind of a crazy prediction, but I'll go with it. Rodolfo Bellato via second round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, we got Ricky Simón versus Charles Jourdain. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Charles Jourdain to beat Ricky Simón. My biggest concern here for Jourdain is not his chin. It's more so his takedown defense. I feel like his takedown defense and grappling has looked suspect at points, but recently has been looking pretty well for him. Offensively, his grappling has been proven. Defensively, his grappling has been proven. And he looked pretty solid in his last fight. Ricky Simón at some points did look like a really good offensive grappler. At points, but he kind of faded now. He hasn't been getting takedowns the way he's been wanting them to. In his last fight, he got a win by knockout. So his takedown offense his takedown offense still has not been looking particularly good as of late. Again, his power is still there, and I think Jourdain will do a good job of avoiding that power. And also, he has dealt with much bigger power at 45, now fighting at 35. And I think he'll be the fastest fighter despite being in former 45. Like, as he has looked like the fastest fighter in his last couple outings at 35, I think he'll look the fastest fighter here. He'll be longer, taller, faster fighter. Be quick, dynamic with shots where Ricky Simón still be looking for that big overhand. I think Jourdain would do a good job of, avoiding that big overhand. I see this going to this. I think Ricky Simón will be game. I think he will make it competitive. I think Jourdain would just be more effective. He'll be faster, quicker, land the bigger shots, do a good job of addressing the grappling of Simón. and just really chewing and breaking Simone down over the fight. But a close competitive fight, but Charles Jourdain just being the more effective striker. And again, the biggest thing, avoiding that big overhand and avoiding spending too much time on bottom, if any time on bottom. And then just sticking to his speed and just being a more dynamic, faster, longer, rangier striker. And being able to pile up that value and pile up those strikes and get a decision victory over Ricky Simone. So, in this one, I got Charles Jourdain via decision. Now, to the next fight we have in the welterweight division, we got Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Michael Chiesa to beat Court McGee. Because, the low confidence. Court McGee, I said Court McGee. Who's McGee? Court McGee's. Yeah, Court McGee, he does have underrated takedown defense. He is a veteran, has been in a lot of fights. And if you sleep on him, he can definitely cause you problems. He even caused Sean Brady some problems in the past. He's fought some guys that had steam at points, like Ramiz Brahimaj, stuffed his takedowns to pick him apart on the feet. And Chiesa can be a little bit vulnerable on the feet, where you can stuff his takedowns and you can prolong the strike on the feet. He can be susceptible to the body. He can be susceptible to just curl up if he gets hit too much or hit too hard. And Court McGee does have that uncle granddad strength, especially being the veteran that he is now, been in the UFC a long time. He already had that for him, like the heroin addiction or whatever he had. Like, you beat addiction, you get some ungodly strength. And then get up in age, you've been in the UFC for this long, for that middleweight at one point. Yeah, you're going to be kind of strong. So, yeah, I can see McGee causing Chiesa a problem, but I just think Michael Chiesa wants it more at this point. I feel like Court McGee, he's been in literally the same spot his whole career. Like, his wins don't mean nothing, his losses don't mean nothing. He's just been in the same spot, like, never ranked, never close to where you ranked, and it's seemingly, like, in a position like he's never going to be cut. Like, yeah. The biggest thing he did, he went off the fight about, outside of that, like, again, literally been stuck. Like, in middleweight, he was in the same position. Welterweight, he's been in the same position. But he's been here year after year after year. But, yeah, I just feel like Mike Chiesa wants some more. I feel like he'll be, if he might struggle to get those takedowns, but I feel like eventually he'll be able to get them. And also, I think he'll be quicker on the feet. I feel like McGee is never really been a quick fighter. And now being like, 40 or, how old is he now? Yeah, 40 years old, even though Chiesa ain't too far behind. Yeah, being 40, even slower. I feel like Chiesa might not be the best striker, but he could beat him to the punch. And then once start getting McGee to respect his speed and his power, or at least to strike a little bit, he can start to attack the single, attack the double, and find ways to get it to takedown, or at least try to wall and stall Court McGee, and just keep him busy. It's not really about finishing McGee. I don't think he finished McGee. McGee is a tough guy. Again, he beat heroin, he beat this, he beat that. So he's not going to be looking for no way out. He'll be tough, he'll be there every single round, but he has a job to, keep him busy. Like, get the takedown, look to be effective, look for the finish, but don't chase it too much, drop some ground and pound. And if you can maintain the top position without, needing to do too much, don't do too much. And again, just keep him busy, wall and stalling, keep him busy with the 1-2. And then once you get him feeling the 1-2, start to attack the single, start to attack the double, and grind him out. Again, McGee will be game, but I just think Michael Chiesa is currently better, got a little bit more left in the tank, and he's definitely the hungrier of the two. So, in this one, I got Michael Chiesa via decision. Now, to the next fight we have in the flyweight division, we got Cody Durden versus Jose Ochoa. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going low confidence Jose Ochoa to beat Cody Durden. And, yeah, Durden is definitely extremely live here. Ochoa, I can't really go to his record right now. I don't care to go to his record right now, but who has he really fought? Who has he really beat? He came off a good loss to another prospect. Very close fight. And if it was probably 5 rounds, he probably would have won that fight. Had his opponent hurt. But, in that final round. But, yeah, I haven't really seen him grapple with anybody truly elite. And Durden, is definitely that tough veteran, tough, savvy veteran, still young enough himself. I think, how old is Durden? Like 34? Yeah, 34 versus 24. Ochoa's a little bit too young. Durden's not quite old enough. You would love this spot. Maybe Durden was like 37, 38, 40 and coming off like a knockout loss. You probably love the spot, but this is definitely a tough spot. It's not a spot to be like, oh, Ochoa's going to win because of this and that. Like, Ochoa at the end of the day, he lost his last fight. He didn't win his last fight. He lost his last fight. Ochoa at the end of the day doesn't really have the most MMA experience, like pro experience. Hasn't fought the best grapplers or like stuff like that. But yeah, all in all, Durden's definitely live. I like Ochoa here. I feel like he has a good ceiling. Might be a little bit too young right here, but I feel like I like his the fact that he's Peruvian. Those Peruvians have shown to be tough, hard to finish, hard to put away, and they'll make you fight for every single inch. And he's a dynamic striker. And yeah, I'll have to say first round TKO. I think he'll be able to surprise Durden. Maybe be able to attack his body and come up with something. Also, Durden did take a lot of damage in that fight. He didn't get stopped, but he did take a lot of damage. And sometimes that's worse than just getting stopped early. So he took a lot of damage. Probably the most damage he took. No. That Bruno Silva knockout, definitely the most damage he took in his career. But second to that Bruno Silva fight. That van damage he put on is the second most damage. But yeah, I think Ochoa will be to catch Durden with his speed and his unorthodox striking. And Durden gonna get caught something he don't see, whether it be like a stepping knee, a switch kick, whether it be to the body or to the head. Maybe set him up with the body first. And then I think he puts Durden away in the first round, just catches him with something he doesn't see, isn't able to react to, hurts him and puts him away in the first round. So in this one, I have Jose Ochoa via first round TKO. Low confidence, mind you. So don't get too thirsty or crazy about that. Like, why are you doing that with Durden? No, Durden is this, Durden. It's low confidence Ochoa. I may or may not bet it, but we'll see. All right, next fight we have in the bantamweight division, we got Cody Garbrandt versus Raoni Barcelos. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Raoni Barcelos to beat Cody Garbrandt. And Garbrandt is live, but it's not like we've seen the best Garbrandt in a long time, and I don't think we're ever going to see that again. You know, Barcelos does got a bit of a questionable chin. So does Garbrandt. So Garbrandt can catch Barcelos. Barcelos can catch Garbrandt. It is what it is. But the biggest thing that sticks out to me is Garbrandt's fight versus Figueiredo. You can say, oh, he had a bad hip, he had this and that, he was having sex with his wife 4 times a day, the whole training camp, and, you know, had this and that, he had low TRT or low testosterone. You can make all the excuses in the world, but that Figueiredo loss was embarrassing. You let a flyweight come up, I don't care how great he is or how skilled he is or whatever, you let him come up and take you down and made you look like you a guy that never trained, wrestled a day in your life, never trained a BJJ class in your life. And you're a former champion. At one point, you're supposed to be noted for how good your takedown defense and how good your team is at grappling. And you got to take it down and submit it like it was easy work. And Raoni Barcelos is much bigger than Figueiredo. He has very high-level wrestling and very high-level BJJ. He's an all-around guy and has been tough. Really, when Barcelos has lost most of his fights, he got chinned by Umar once. But outside that, really, where Barcelos has lost most of his fights have been, you know, well-rounded guys that have been able to put up skilled, consistent, technical outputs. And they have been able to outwork him. It hasn't been this guy just looking for the knockout outside of the Umar. And even the Umar kind of knockout wasn't really like a clean. It was kind of like a weird, like, jumping knee, then landed like a kind of an upward limp wrist hook or something that dropped him. But yeah, Garbrandt definitely live here, but let's see how old is Garbrandt. He's still probably young enough. 33. Not that young, not that old. So it's not like he's in that range where he's not getting knockouts no more. But he's live for that, but I got to go Barcelos. I feel like Barcelos can take him down, dominate him on the ground, and even submit him. I'm going to say second round submission for Raoni Barcelos. I think he can hold his own on the feet with Garbrandt. You know, this guy stayed locked in, and this is going to be the biggest fight of his career. Even though Garbrandt is nowhere near his prime, he's never going to fight up for a belt, never going to sniff a belt again in his career. 45, 55, 25, never going to sniff a belt again in his life. It just is what it is. But the fact that you're fighting a former champion, you can hold a win over a former UFC champion. Barcelos, this type of fights these guys get up for. Guys like Barcelos. Because Barcelos probably never going to sniff a belt. But he can say, I beat a former champion. I dogged him. I knocked his teeth out. I grabbed his mouthpiece. I threw it to the rafters. I stuck a middle finger up to his son. I banged his wife. Like, you know, I didn't get to the Super Bowl, but I beat someone who got to the Super Bowl. So these guys like this that, you know, he might in his mind feel like he can get there. He's not. But they still take a big moral victory beating these former champions. And then every time that highlight reel comes, they show them beating these former champions. Yeah. But I think Barcelos is going to be the hold his own feet. And I definitely think if Garbrandt is any bit in the realm of the guy that fought Figueiredo, Barcelos is going to be able to have good. He's going to be able to have a field day on the ground with Garbrandt. And I see a second round submission for Raoni Barcelos. So in this one, I got Raoni Barcelos via second round submission. Now to our next fight. We have in the middleweight division, we got Cody Garbrandt. Cody Brundage versus Mansour Abdul Malik. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Mansour Abdul Malik to beat Cody Brundage. It is what it is. They're going to have a sunny fit. They're both going to lose. They both going to get stopped. But anyway, yeah, I got Abdul Malik average confidence to beat Brundage. Brundage really has not shown me anything. Like, what has he really done? You know, who did he beat? He beat the Cuban Missile Crisis. That guy fell off big time. And he knocked him out, but he was some points where like he's about to get knocked on that fight. He's fighting a washed up guy that was mediocre to begin with. So a former mid fighter that's washed up and you still struggle to beat him. He finally got the knockout, and that was probably like one of the biggest wins of your career. I guess the biggest win of his career was Malcone, a fight he was getting dogged in, and he got away with a win via DQ. So yeah, did he get like 2 wins via DQ? Or nah, he didn't. He got 2 upset wins. But one of them was a DQ, the other one was a slam, but yeah. Brundage hasn't really had no real clean performance. I think Abdul Malik can address the wrestling of Brundage. I think he's too big. He's too powerful. Brundage was also getting whooped up by, what's his name? Razak Al Hassan. And I think Abdul Malik could bring similar power, similar strength, bigger size, better wrestling, better cardio. And I think he's only going to get better. I feel like Brundage is who he is. And I just have not really been impressed with Brundage. Again, I feel like Malik could address the grappling. I think he's the bigger, better striker. And I think he'll be able to put Brundage out. And I'm going to say first round for Abdul Malik. So in this one, I have Abdul Malik via first round TKO. Now to the next fight we have in the middleweight division. We got Edmund Shahbazyan versus Andre Petroski. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Andre Petroski to beat Edmund Shahbazyan. And I'm not going to be one of those people that just all of a sudden going to start switch up and like, oh, Shahbazyan's, he's chained. Like, you beat one guy who didn't wrestle. who had a wrestling background, but did not shoot a single takedown on a fight. Petroski's going to shoot a takedown. Shahbazyan, definitely going to win this one. He's definitely the favorite in this one. Probably going to stay the favorite. Might even shoot up to a bigger favorite. But Petroski is a big, powerful wrestler. He showed improvement in his last fight. His cardio had been a big issue for him. In his last fight, he was able to outwork his opponent in the later rounds. And that's how he won the fight. It was a close fight. I think he lost first round or he won the first round. Either way, it was a crucial third round, and he outworked his opponent in the crucial third round. Something Petroski had not shown, so that's improvement. Shahbazyan, he showed his good striking, as he always showed good striking in his last fight, so that's nothing new. Petroski showing cardio, that's more important than with Shahbazyan just getting back on the winning side, knocking out a guy who did not mix up a wrestler who did not look to wrestle. And we know Petroski's not going to be one of those guys that's going to get away from wrestling. He might look to strike a little bit. Again, that could get him caught, get him knocked out a little bit, but he's definitely going to shoot a takedown. Even if he loses the fight, I think he's going to shoot a takedown. He's going to score a takedown. But I do think he wins this fight. He mixing the power, mixing the takedowns. And I'm going to go first round submission for Petroski. I think he'll get Shahbazyan down, be to buzz him up, be very heavy on top, and Shahbazyan's going to wilt to that. And then Petroski's going to be able to capitalize and sub him in the first round. So in this one, I got Andre Petroski via first round submission. Now to the next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Alonzo Menifield versus Omar Sy, or C. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going average confidence Omar Sy to beat Alonzo Menifield. Menifield didn't even win his last fight. They just gifted him a fight he didn't deserve to win. But that's not happening this time. I think Omar Sy, kind of suspect defense as well, kind of a greenhorn as well. But I think he can address the striking. I think I'll grapple Menifield. But ultimately, I think he'll be able to catch him on the feet and finish Menifield in the second round via TKO. So in this one, I have Omar Sy via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Rose Namajunas versus Miranda Maverick. And how do I feel about this one right here? I'm going low confidence Rose Namajunas to beat Miranda Maverick. I do like this fight for Rose because it's not a 5-round fight. And I feel like Rose, even in some of her wins these last couple fights, her loss, her win, let's say against Blanchfield, she was dogging Blanchfield for the first 2 rounds and a half, but then she dipped off. She was dogging Tracy Cortez, then dipped off. She still beat Tracy Cortez, but she was dogging her, dipped off. She was dogging what's her name? Hebus, dipped off. She has this pattern where she was dogging opponents, then she dipped off, but she still was able to win. She did the same against Blanchfield, but with Blanchfield does you can't afford to dip off against Blanchfield. So I don't know what's happening in her training camp, her diet, her cardio, that she kind of faded in these fights. But again, those were 5-round fights. So even if she does her typical pattern here, she will still win 2 rounds to 1 and will win. Because those first 2 rounds are pretty strong. She's dropping opponents, she's tossing them on the head, she's stuffing takedowns easily, getting her own takedowns. She's looking real phenomenal those first 2 rounds. She's looking like she could be the champion of this weight class or strawweight if she wanted to be in those first 2 rounds. But after that first 2 rounds, it's this new pattern where she's just not looking strong later on. She's clearly she just steps off the gas. But again, get some Miranda Maverick here. It's only 3 rounds. And Miranda Maverick striking is improving, but still extremely sloppy. Namajunas will have probably a bigger striking advantage than she had in any recent fights going ahead against Miranda Maverick. And Maverick was struggling to grapple with Horth in her last fight, and Horth is nowhere near the level of Namajunas. Horth will always be an entry-level women's flyweight fighter, and she was struggling with her at points in the fight. She still won, but was struggling in that fight. So I think Rose will be an outstrike her pretty easily. Be to stop the takedowns pretty easily, especially through those first 2 rounds. Reverse them if she wants to come on top, and just really pick apart Maverick through the first 2 rounds. Third round probably gonna be a little bit tougher, but I still think Namajunas can win that round as well. And I think she also probably might try to, notice the pattern and try to adjust it so she could dominate for 3 rounds, even finish Maverick here. But I'll say a decision for Rose. Maverick has shown to be tough, and it's not like Namajunas, least recently has shown any big eagerness to finish fights or chase a finish. So it'll probably be a decision fight. But Rowe's looking real strong through the 2 rounds, first 2 rounds at least, if not the first all 3 rounds, but most importantly those first 2 rounds, and be able to beat Maverick to a clear decision here. So in this one, I got Rowe's Namajunas via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the welterweight division, we got Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'm going average confidence Joaquin Buckley to beat Usman. Usman is one of the greatest fighters of all time, with like the 2nd or 3rd greatest welterweight of all time. You know, you can't forget about Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes had like 8 defenses. You can say error for this, but like, yeah. So there's definitely a debate where you can say, oh, Usman's number 2 or number 3, because you got to respect Matt Hughes. And it's definitely not bad to say he's number 3, as far as Usman or if Matt Hughes is number 3. But anyway, yeah, great fighter. Had a good fight with Khamzat Chimaev, but I think Buckley's a worse stylistic matchup for him than Chimaev, to be honest. This is at welterweight. Usman is 38, not a great age. Not also not grading to be a former champion. That, you know, you already peaked. You already accomplished all you can accomplish. Like, Usman's not going to come around and be no middleweight champion. He's not going to come around and be the welterweight champion. His time has passed. His time has done. Even if he does make it there, he's mostly going to get picked apart or stopped there. But I think he gets stopped here. Like, he loses here, and I think he gets stopped here. Yeah, bad knees, 38, close to 40. Hasn't won in like 2 years. On a 3-5 losing streak. You know, he could have made some better things and stuff. Like, he could have took a pick and fight, but he didn't do that. So, you know, he could do something to reboot himself, but he's not doing that. He's stepping right into the firehouse, and I just think Buckley's going to be too much. Like, Buckley's young, he's hungry, he hasn't achieved what Usman has, and he's still looking to achieve that, and he can achieve that. He has shown good takedown defense, he has shown good cardio, and Usman's definitely not the same guy he used to be. I just think Buckley's going to be able to address the grappling, probably be able to get some of his own takedowns in the fight. I just think he's too fast, too dynamic on the feet for Usman. And Usman, you know, you can say Usman could try to get back to being the fighter he was, but people are training to get better and have been training to beat him, to be better to him. And that's the thing that happens with these fighters. Like, it's not just, oh, I got old. You know, that's a big factor. That's probably the biggest factor. But another big factor that's close to it as being big is that these fighters, like, you're trained to be who you used to be, and if people have been training to beat you, and you're never going to be who you used to be, so you got to be training to be better. These start to mix things in. And Usman, like, even like early on in his career, like when he was still in his prime, like he never really looked to improve it. Like he never worked on his jiu-jitsu. He never looked on putting locks in and doing stuff like that, and, you know, getting these rear naked chokes, getting these Darce chokes at a high level against high skilled opponents. Like, no, he'll push the pace. You know, he got to work y'all, grind you. He had like a pretty much Kobe Covington with maybe not the same pace but more power. That's pretty much what they were. Like, Usman had, you know, better takedown defense, better power, lower pace, and he was there to beat Kobe. He was there to stop Kobe's takedowns, hit harder, and break Kobe down. But yeah, Usman's worn out. He's 38, 3-5 losing streak. I think Buckley will be too fast, too dynamic on the feet, and will be able to touch Usman with shots he doesn't see coming. And I think he's able to put Usman out in the 2nd round via TKO. So in this one, I got Joaquin Buckley via 2nd round TKO. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Usman versus Buckley. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.